VCY America presents Crosstalk, a nationwide call-in program discussing issues that have an effect on our families, our communities, our churches, our nation, and our world. Crosstalk, an opportunity for you to voice your concerns for biblical principles. And now live by satellite and around the world on the internet at vcyamerica.org. Here is today's Crosstalk.
And we do thank you for joining us on Crosstalk today. Friends, lots of information to pass along your way as the funeral procession for the former Iranian Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei has been underway today. It's been going on for several days, this whole saga that's been unfolding. Fox News reported that as the procession approached the Shrine of Imam Reza today, that mourners carried revolutionary placards and a massive banner threatening President Donald Trump. Khamenei's body was carried by a truck slowly moving as mourners chanted revenge slogans, and also President Trump, revenge against him, carrying placards saying "Kill Trump" appeared in the crowd. Also, we understand there were chants of killing the Prime Minister of Israel. And then you couple that with the violation of the ceasefire that's been going on, Iran attacking ships traveling through the Strait of Hormuz, while the U.S. has launched retaliatory strikes against Iran. President Trump has called the negotiators for Iran liars and has said that the ceasefire is dead. And friends, we're going to get into this, but I need to also have you understand that all this that's unfolding with Islam is not confined just to the Middle East, but we're going to talk about how some of these matters are hitting on our home turf as well. President Trump, again, has been front and center. He's been in the crosshairs for those who want to see his death be hastened. Joining us today with just updates on developments and analysis, Shahram Hadian back with us from he's founder of Truth and Love Ministry. He is a Christian pastor, a former Muslim, born in Iran, came to America in 1978 to escape a very oppressive Islamic regime, committed his life to Jesus Christ in 1999. He does have an extensive background as a pastor, but also as a former police officer, a teacher, a coach, and servant leader in his community. Shahram, thank you for joining us here on Crosstalk.
Jim, as always, it's a blessing to be on with you guys. Thank you so much.
I'd like to play a clip from President Trump as he spoke yesterday to reporters, and we'll have you comment here on the latest on the Middle East and Iran in particular. Here's the question from a reporter.
Have any questions?
Mr. President, is the ceasefire over? Is the ceasefire done? Is the MOU dead?
It's a very interesting question. To me, I think it's over. I don't want to deal with them anymore. They're scum. You know what scum is? They're scum. They're sick people. They're led by sick people. And they're vicious, violent people. And if they had a nuclear weapon, they'd use it. As far as I'm concerned, it's over. I'll speak to our negotiators. They want to negotiate. They're good people. Steve Witkoff, Jared Kushner. But they have to come back to me. As far as I'm concerned, it's just a waste of time dealing with them. They're liars. We make a deal, and if I make a deal with him, we have a deal, and he goes out, he talks. We make a deal. Everyone's agreed. No nuclear weapon. We make a deal. They go outside, talk to the press. They say, we never even talked about it. There's something wrong with them. They're cuckoo. As far as I'm concerned, it's over.
Shahram Hadian, your response to this comment from yesterday.
Well, first of all, Jim, I would say, Mr. President, if you wanted to know about this regime, perhaps you should have brought in people from Iran who, could tell you very well what you're dealing with. Sir, there was no surprise here. Jim, last time I was on with you, we talked about, how long any type of deal would last, which was the chances of it lasting were zero, right, in my opinion, and that has proven to be true. So, why is he saying now that, his view changed from them being rational people a month ago to now they're scum? Of course they are crazy, but they're fanatical. They're fundamentalists. They're not just cuckoo. They're actually fanatical Shiite Muslims that are simply following the script of Islam. Lie to your enemies, delay, make deals, break deals, make deals, break deals. This is what has been the pattern of Islamic warfare for 1,400 years, and any Iranian, particularly Christian from Iran, could have told the president, this is why Reza Pahlavi, the son of the Shah, has said, there is no deal to be had with anybody in this regime. As long as one of them are breathing, there will never be peace.
You know, it's amazing to see this unfold, and you and others have been saying this all along and warning, you know, that this is going to be the outcome. And with all the delays that are taking place, of course, it allows Iran, allows her proxies as well to be retooling, to be strategizing for the next level of warfare that's going to take place. And it's going on. I mean, last night President Trump warned Iran that if they strike ships again in the Persian Gulf, it's going to get much worse. Well, Iran has struck ships here in the last few days, and U.S. has retaliated against them. And you don't see this ever coming to any level of peace with the present regime, whether that be the Ayatollah's son who's off either in hiding or they don't want him to be public at this time, or whether it's the IRGC or leaders of their governing bodies there. It's as if they're all in cahoots with one another, that they're just playing the U.S.
They're absolutely playing the U.S. That's part of their strategy. We've said before, the Strait of Hormuz was always part of their strategy. That was a huge miscalculation by the United States up front. We should have taken the strait immediately we should have, the blockade should still be there. They should have never lifted the blockade. Because even since this so-called MOU has gone into effect, which now he's saying it's over, but then aboard Air Force One, he said that someone from Iran called him last night, and they want a deal again. So it's deal on, deal off, deal on, deal off. When is the administration going to learn? And listen, Jim, he likes Witkoff. Obviously, Jared Kushner is his son-in-law. These are lightweights. These are not people that should be negotiating. They have no idea what they're dealing with. They have no idea what Islam is. And I would argue that, again, this is very documented. They are compromised because of their financial entanglements with these Arab nations that are trying to get a deal with Iran. And I've said this before. These Arab nations don't want to free Iran because a free Iran would unshackle itself from Islam. It would be an Islamic free Iran. No, zero chance of a deal, zero chance of it lasting. They're going to keep playing. By some estimates, they've recouped $6 billion of oil revenue just in the last couple of weeks from this MOU and the lifting of the blockade. So. And I don't know if you saw this yesterday, there was a report out that Hamas in Gaza is now supposedly backing off wanting to rule Gaza, which begs the question, who would then govern Gaza? And it potentially could be Iran. This regime is not done with their proxies.
Right.
They're not done with Hezbollah in the north, and they're not done with working with al-Shara in Syria, and they're not done in Gaza. Yet, meanwhile, we're continuing to placate them. So, I'm weary. People are weary of a president who seems to go back and forth multiple times a day, not a week or a month, every day. And any Iranian who knows what's going on in Iran, who has lived through 47 years, can tell you the only option is the dismantling of this regime. And I would once again urge the president, he's got to get his boot off the back of Israel and let Israel finish the job. Israel, I believe, many of us believe, Jim, would have finished the job last June had the U.S. not interfered and stopped them from doing what they were doing.
Wow. Shahram, let's also talk about this funeral for the former supreme leader of Iran. The anti-Trump, anti-America vitriol has been pretty intense. I mean, these huge banners, we will kill Trump. And then also WND.com reported this new Israeli intelligence, which indicated Iran's elite Quds force has established a new unit dedicated to targeting U.S. officials, in particular President Trump.
Yeah, absolutely. So just to give your audience a quick background, The Quds Force, the word Quds, is a term that Islam uses for Jerusalem. There's not a term in Islam or the Quran for Jerusalem. It's never mentioned. They refer to it as Al-Quds, and they claim it's theirs. But this force is an elite assassination force. And the fact that they've now mobilized this force, Bibi Netanyahu is number one on the list, and Donald J. Trump is number two on the list. So how can we sit and say we're making deals with a nation that has put out a hit list on our leader and now put forth an elite, very sophisticated, may I add, because there are some indications, Jim, that they have training from the Russians, that there is either Chinese or Russian training that has also been working with this Quds Force. So it's not just the Iranians, but they have sophisticated ways. And we have seen, how many times have we seen a lapse of security around the President of the United States? And I think, by the way, I think this is why Trump did not fly back from Ankara yesterday on the new Air Force One, or the Qatari Air Force One. I have to call it the Qatari Air Force One. I don't know what else to call it. And he flew on the old one because I think that it had to do with potentially major security concerns. I think that there was something that they recognized, and that new plane that's retrofitted probably doesn't have the same countermeasures as the existing Air Force Ones that are there. So, in my opinion, I didn't buy the whole, we're going to let our troops visit this new plane and give them I didn't buy that at all. I think that this is a serious threat, and therefore finish the job. I don't know what else to say. We got to finish the job and then recognize that this is about the Iranian people and not this regime.
Fill in the blanks.
By the way, did you see where they're going to bury Khamenei? They're going to bury Khamenei in Iraq. Why? Because he's an Arab. He's not Iranian. He's not Persian. They took over Iran, and this is what I've been saying for many, many years: is that these Ayatollahs aren't even from Iran themselves. They conquered it. They took it over. They're Arabs. They're Indians, like Khomeini was back in 1979.
Shahram Hadian with us today, and you mentioned about this Air Force One, and we don't have time to air the clip, but President Trump, he was grilled by reporters. I mean, many are seeing through this, and he said, we're going to let our troops see this over in Europe. It's going to be flying over there, and I'm flying back the traditional means. But Shahram, just this morning, Newsmax.com came out at 9:30 this morning saying the Secret Service reportedly urged President Trump to fly home from Turkey on the old Air Force One instead of the new Qatari donated jet as a precautionary measure. The recommendation came after hostilities between the U.S. and Iran resumed during Trump's visit to Turkey for the NATO summit. And but they're saying, didn't have any specific, hint that there was something that was going to happen, a credible threat, but out of this abundance of caution. We'll be back in 1 minute. We'll talk further about that and so many other related issues. Shahram Hadian is with us today from Truth in Love Ministry. This is Crosstalk coming your way on the VCY American Network.
Back to Genesis with Dr. John Morris, scientist with the Institute for Creation Research. Dr. Morris, why do scientific dating methods seem to indicate that the world has a vast age?
Chris, in most dating efforts, you must observe a present-day process and the state of that system affected by that process. Then you conclude how long it would take for that process to produce a present state. The main assumption is that the rate of that process has never been much different than it is now. For instance, we might date the Mississippi Delta by estimating how long it would take for the Mississippi River to bring enough silt down to build up that huge delta. But if a great flood had occurred in the past, the rate of delta buildup might have been much different than today. If we include Noah's flood in our thinking, then most dating techniques actually give a date far too young to have allowed for evolution to occur. They're consistent with the biblical doctrine of the young earth, the one we read about back in Genesis.
For more information, visit our website at icr.org.
This is Crosstalk on VCY America. Shahram Hadian is with us today, founder of Truth and Love Ministry. His website, TIL, Truth and Love, TILministry.com, TILministry.com. So, Shahram, this notice that came out from Newsmax, a report this morning about the Secret Service urging the president, don't use that, what you call Qatari One, the Qatari Air Force One, but use the traditional. They seem to have some security concerns and cautions regarding the use of that plane.
Absolutely, they do. In fact, some reports said that they took off, and I saw a video of the plane taking off with mostly the shades down. They had told people, I think, from where I had read that shades are down. That's usually when they're going into a very dangerous area, so that there's no light visible for surface-to-air missiles. Now, you have to remember, this is in Turkey. So Turkey, despite what Trump says, is not a friend to the United States. It's very supportive of Iran. There are elements of the Iranian regime very well infiltrated in Turkey. So I think they had credible evidence, and it tells you that even though they spent a lot of money fixing this plane to make it look pretty, it doesn't have the countermeasures because Jim, when what's the best way to make what you want? You do it from scratch. When you build a plane, I'm sure they're going to incorporate all the countermeasures and everything they have. This is retrofitted. So again, I would ask the question, where is the wisdom in taking a gift? If Trump wanted to take this plane and say, look, after I'm done office, it's my plane, that's one thing. But to incorporate it as Air Force One has created a national security threat to the President of the United States, and I think it's, unfortunately, in my opinion, foolishness. So, again, I think you're right. That story fell apart very quickly. They saw through it. This tells you these are credible threats. This is no joke that the Al-Quds Force is now saying that Bibi and Trump are 1 and 2 on our kill list. And if there's no other reason to negotiate, what would Ronald Reagan do in this hour? He wouldn't sit there and negotiate with a nation that says we're going to kill you, death to America. He would take a hard road and say, no, we need to remove. And again, I'm not talking about regime change. I'm saying let the people rise up, stop going back and forth. We talked about this last time I was on. The best way to be able to arm the Iranian people inside Iran, Jim, is to bring defections. You won't bring defections of the Army, of the Air Force, of some of those forces that are there in Iran unless you guarantee them that you are going to stop arming and giving lifelines to this death cult, which is a regime. If you were that person that was thinking about defecting, would you ever defect if you keep getting mixed messages from the United States? So if they gave us a signal that, no, we're done, like yesterday, if he had just stuck to what he said yesterday, that we're done, the MOU is over, these people are scum, whatever he called, they're cuckoo, we're done. If he stuck to that and stopped waffling back and forth, you're going to see the people come into the streets again. You're going to see defections, which is the number one way to arm the Iranian people. You don't need boots on the ground. You need to let them defect and support the people. And they will if they knew they were going to get backing and stop giving these lifelines to this murderous regime.
Shahram, I'd like to ask you something. In our last segment, you mentioned a phrase a couple of times, and I wanted to probe you further on it. You said that President Trump needs to finish the job. Fill in the blanks. What does that mean? What does that look like through your eyes? When you say those words, finish the job, what does that mean?
Well, number one, it means stop interfering with what Israel needs to do. I've said this again, and the intel has shown this, and the strategy has shown this. Israel has much better intelligence inside Iran. They've been working at it for years. They know exactly a better way of toppling this regime from within. And so that's number one. They got to get out of the way of Israel to finish the job. Number two, support the Crown Prince. If you want to finish the job, stop negotiating with this regime. Stop telling them we're going to make deals. Stand up to your Arab, Muslim, supposed allies that are really not our allies, like Turkey. Turkey is not an ally of the United States. should never have been allowed to be in NATO. And oh, by the way, we should not be selling them 6 F-35 stealth fifth-generation fighters. And then number two, recognize the Crown Prince, legitimize him as the legitimate transitional leader. The European Parliament has done that now. Many European leaders have done that now. He will go and meet with whoever invites him. But President Trump refuses to invite him and even talk with him. Mm-hmm. And number three, as I said, stop giving mixed messages. If you allow the people to believe, as they did in January,
yes,
that the United States is for them, without boots on the ground, you can do this. And number four, they should have taken the Strait of Hormuz. Take over the Strait of Hormuz, go back to the blockade, take over Karg Island. By the way, did you notice that when they hit, according to CENTCOM, of the 80 sites that they hit, many of them were in Bandar Abbas, which is that southern port, right north of Karg Island, and they hit those mountainous areas where many of the bunkers are. Last time I was on the show with you, Jim, that's exactly what I said. I said they should have hit that from the very beginning. They start in the south. They hit Bushehr area, which is the southwestern part of Iran. That's where they were attacking. That's where they should have gone after immediately. So let's just pray that they will stick to that strategy. Maybe Trump will listen to his military advisors and stop listening to J.D. Vance and Kushner and Witkoff and believing that there's a deal to be had with this murderous regime.
Yeah, again, how do you negotiate with those who want to kill you and destroy your country and consider you the infidel, the enemy, etc.? And speaking of which, President Trump has just been very intent as it relates to Turkey and selling these F-35 aircraft. He seems to have put a renewed trust, and he said that he trusts President Erdogan, and that I understand, Shahram, is very concerning to you.
It's concerning on multiple levels. First of all, the head of NATO made a statement at the White House a few weeks ago that should have alarmed people, but people were not paying attention to it, and that is he came out and acknowledged what we all knew, which is Turkey has one of the probably top 5 militaries in the world as far as their military power. Now, remember, Erdogan 6 months ago said that there is an invasion plan of Israel on the table. So this is Erdogan who's threatening to invade the small nation of Israel. Trump's over there holding hands with him. I'm not making this up. I mean, it was in the video. Erdogan had his arm, in Trump's arm, walking. Trump was welcoming all the military. And now the Turks already have the S-400 missiles from Russia. Now you give them F-35, 5th-gen stealth fighters. You are arming the very enemy of not only Europe, but also Israel and also the United States. Mm-hmm. It is a massive lapse in judgment. It is a massive mistake. And then, Jim, we haven't even talked about prophetically, because Ezekiel chapter 38, the Gog-Magog war, it mentions potentially 9 nations or 9 references. 4 of them, Meshach, Tubal, Gomer, and Beth Togarmah, 4 of those references of the nations that will rise up against Israel, God puts a hook in their mouth and draws them out, are Turkey, are modern-day Turkey.
Wow.
And we're arming them? This is very, very prophetically and national security-wise concerning. And by the way, Turkey is also has never recognized the Armenian genocide. They still refuse to recognize that they killed 1.5 million Armenians in the genocide. And Turkey does not support the Iranian people. They potentially, I think, they were behind the Kurdish remember back in March, there was that thing about the CIA was arming the Kurds to potentially go into Iran, and then we found out Trump came out and said, they kept the weapons. I was disappointed by that. I think Turkey had a hand in that. I think Turkey had a hand in influencing the Kurds to not take those weapons inside Iran to support the Iranian people. So that operation, whatever it was, backfired, and I think Turkey was a reason for that.
Shahram Hadian with us today, and there's another aspect I'd like to talk about this too. You talked about the Iranian people and they're looking for freedom. Yet when you see the funeral processions and the throngs of people yelling out death to the President Trump and to Netanyahu and death to America and all of this. That doesn't seem to comport. How is it that so much hatred against us, yet they're looking to us for freedom?
Well, we know statistically, Jim, and thank you for letting me address this. Statistically, 80 to 85% of the Iranian population hates this regime, hates vehemently this regime, and is willing to die to liberate themselves. So that we're talking about 85% of 93 million people. There is about 8 to 10% of the people that are inside Iran that are loyalists to this regime, either by force, meaning that they get paid to come out and protest, or they're afraid because these are many of the government officials. These are many government workers. These are people that their livelihood is attached to the regime. So therefore, when the regime says come out in the streets, they better come out in the streets. These are not willfully coming out. But there are fundamentalists in the midst. No one's denying that there is a percentage, again, my estimation about 8%. Well, 8% of 93 million is still a lot of people. That's, about 6 plus whatever million, 7 million people. Yep. So that's why, the media was going crazy. Oh, look, 1 million people are in the streets supporting Khamenei and crying and weeping and wailing and saying death to America, death to Israel, kill Trump. Yeah, those are the fanatics. Those are the fundamentalists. But they do not represent 85 to 90% of the Iranian people. That is not the Iranian people. And many of those people are also transplants. Just like the leadership is transplants, just like the leadership, the majority of them are not from Iran, many of those people have been brought in to Iran as part of the apparatus of this regime to run the country.
Let me get one more question before the break here. And I just saw a story on Worthy News about the Iranian authorities moving to confiscate Tehran's historic St. Peter's Evangelical Church, evict Christians from the church compound. This seems to be escalation, suppressing Protestant Christianity. What about the Christian church in Iran?
Well, that's a great question. We have seen this for 47 years. That as this regime has taken root in Iran, Christianity has grown, spread exponentially, powerfully, underground, in house churches, under great persecution. We also know that the January protest, that dozens, if not hundreds, of Christians were murdered as part of the 45,000 minimum, that lowball number of those that were massacred. So Christians were massacred among them. And Christians continue to be persecuted. In fact, there's a woman right now who is on a hunger strike in Evin prison in Iran as a Christian, as a Protestant, I should say, against the regime because of they gave her a 10-year sentence for converting to Christianity. So this is life. This is what Christians do to wake up to in America and understand what's coming here.
Friends, and that's what we're going to talk about in our next segment. What is coming here? We're going to turn our focus into North America and then to the United States as well. Stay with us. Back in 1 minute. You're listening to Crosstalk.
Proverbs 21 verse 1 says,
"The king's heart is in the hand of the Lord, as the rivers of water. He turneth it whithersoever he will."
Just as God worked through the kings in Israel, so he also works through the leaders of human government in countries around the world, including the U.S. In the book, Presidents, Politics, and Prophecy, author Richard Schmidt has transcribed and expanded intriguing lectures from Dr. Jimmy DeYoung Sr. You'll see how God has worked through world powers in the past to accomplish his plan and purpose for today and the future. With a review of each of the U.S. presidents from Jimmy Carter to Donald Trump, you'll find key initiatives that have prepared the world for things to come. VCY has made available Presidents, Politics, and Prophecy, for a donation of $18. Call 1-800-729-9829.
You're listening to Crosstalk on VCY America, and friends, we need you to understand this is not just something that's happening over there. The Islamic idea is not just something that is over there, it is here. It is here in the United States, it's here in North America. We're going to be talking about that during this segment here, including what's going on in New York City, what's going on in the elections across this nation right now. But I'd like to begin talking about this Islamic ideology, and I have an audio clip here from an Islamic scholar, Abu Ibrahim, as he spoke just a few weeks ago. He's out of Canada, but he speaks to that Islam is incompatible with the Western ideas. Listen into what he had to say.
This video is a message for any Muslim who associates himself nationalistically, culturally, with the Western country in which he was born in or immigrated to, whether you're Canadian or British or American or Australian. If you call yourself that plus Muslim, then this message is for you. Many Muslims, they see themselves as belonging to the Western civilizational project, unfortunately. Not just in action, which is like, many of us are forced to be here, or like we don't have any other opportunities elsewhere, but they really see themselves as actively building the West, leading the West, contributing to its values, being in alignment with what it means to be Canadian, British, American, whatever it is. And in doing so, they forget that Islam is its own civilizational project, right? I mean, while you were so caught up being a Canadian, you forgot that you're a Muslim. Like, Muslim is not, something in a parallel category where like, okay, my religion is Islam and my nation is Canada. No. Your religion, your nation, your politics, everything about you is Islam. Islam is meant to be totally exclusive. Western identity, Western civilization is its whole basket of ideas that come from the Enlightenment, come from Christendom. It has a specific evolution, right? Islam is a totally different world of ideas. There is no reason for these worlds of ideas to coincide, and in fact, they do not.
Shahram, he is saying the quiet part out loud. You have been shouting this for a long, long time.
Yeah, I mean, thank you for telling the truth. This is exactly what we've been telling folks, is that when Muslims, when Islamic leaders get to the point where they feel that they have a upper hand, a strength, they're transitioning to that upper house of Islam where they have control. This is their message. First and foremost, you see his message is for Muslims.
Yes.
Hey, you're not an American Muslim, you're not a Canadian Muslim, you're just a Muslim. And he says what we've been saying, Jim.
Yes.
Which is Islam is not just a religion. Thank you. I got to thank this guy. Thank you for saying Islam is a total political, governmental civilization ideology and strategy. And it is not here to coexist, he said. It is not here to be parallel, he said. It is here to be completely separate, and it's on its own. Thank you. Finally, we have a wonderful soundbite, an audio clip of an Islamic leader just telling us the truth. Now, why are they telling us the truth? Because they feel that they've gotten so much strength and so much accommodation from the left and from these Western governments that they can now just say the quiet part out loud.
Yeah.
And so that's a great clip, and that's a clip that everybody should be sharing right now because it proves our point. Stop saying Islam is a religion. Stop giving it coverage behind the First Amendment, and treat it as what it is, an antithetical governmental system that cannot coexist with our Constitution and any Western society based upon Judaism or Christianity or what he calls Christendom.
And Shahram, let's look how this ideology has now come full square, right into our nation, New York City, and the transformation that's happening to NYC right now. Massive demonstrations taking place, and I want to play one more. This is a shorter audio clip here of a protester declaring it to be New Yorkistan. Let's listen in.
This is the Islamic Republic of New Yorkistan. Islam will be in every household. Inshallah, the whole world is Muslim. Welcome to Mamdani's New York. You see this city? You see how it looks? Inshallah, your city looks just like this too.
Okay, Shahram, welcome to Mamdani's New York, and calls it the Islamic Republic of New Yorkistan.
Yeah. Again, they're able to say this because they feel that they have total control. They've taken over the city. They have the mayor. They've taken over NYPD, the police department, in the sense of their policies. They have their enclave set up. We have the most number of Muslims in any American city at well over 1 million. We have the most number of mosques, over 300 of any American city. They have the Islamic call of prayer being broadcast 5 times a day. I mean, what else do they need? What else do they need other than set up a bunch of Sharia courts to adjudicate and completely declare itself another country? So this is, as you said, Jim, for 2 decades, we've been warning about this. We've been saying that this is what's coming. And what's sad is, number one, the left helps them get there. The red of this access, Mamdani ran as a Democrat socialist, correct?
Yes.
He ran as a red. He ran on the same ideology of we're going to abolish, or limit police, abolish ICE, declare New York to be a sanctuary city,
empty prisons,
free housing, free healthcare, free transportation, free, which I've told people before. It's exactly what Khamenei promised the Iranian people before 1979. Mamdani is a better-looking, good-looking, younger version of Khomeini. He's a Shiite 12er. He has the same ideology. But once again, they're saying the quiet part out loud. And why are they saying the quiet part out loud? Is because they believe they've conquered the city and they're not going to give it back. So I don't know what else to tell the American people and Christians, Jim, in that this is exactly why we have to stand up now for other parts of the country that are not conquered like New York City, which is, of course, incredibly grieving that we went from 9/11 to this.
Indeed. I mean, in 25 years, to go from 9/11, where Islamists came and brought down the Trade Center, cost the lives of thousands, and totally upended the city, now to taking over the city. And friends, it's outrageous what is taking place. And now, Shahram, too, there's an imam in Maryland making his statement that he said we need people to sacrifice their money and their blood and their wealth for the sake of Allah.
Yes, because in jihad, according to Islam, and he's actually teaching directly out of the Quran and out of the Hadith, which is the traditions of their prophet, because jihad carries forth multiple ways. There's actually 8 ways that money is to be spent, and part of that money goes towards fighting unbelievers to establish Islam, right? Jihad gets a bit of a bad definition because people only think it means you blow yourself up. Remember, again, the word, for your audience, the word means warfare to establish Islam. So it's warfare against non-Muslims to establish Islam as the only religion, as the only belief system, and that jihad takes different forms, different types of jihad, immigration jihad, population jihad, financial jihad, civilization jihad, legal jihad, and, of course, physical fighting. So, but again, why are they saying these things? Why are they being emboldened? Because our nation, our leaders have capitulated, have given over, and the Democrat socialists that have now taken over the Democrat Party, by their own admission, the Democrat Party is gone. They've taken it over. The Democrat socialists are helping Islam take root, and I'm going to give them a warning today, Jim. If any Democrat socialist happens to listen to your show, I doubt it, but if they do, and here's the warning. Just wait until they don't need you anymore, and just wait when they get rid of you by any means necessary. That's exactly what Khomeini did in Iran to the Marxist Muslims, to the Marxists who were there helping them take over in 1979, overthrow the Shah, and within a year they were outlawed and killed. So the DSA, the Marxists, the leftists, the feminists, the LGBTQ, they all help the Muslims. They all help Islam until Islam takes over. By the way, did you see the city of Ottawa that is now capitulating to Muslims because their school district is now 25% Muslims? City of Ottawa has said in Canada, we're going to stop doing pride events. Isn't that incredible?
Yeah.
Canada is all about pride and leftism. All of a sudden, they're going to stop doing pride events. Why? Because they have so many Muslims now. The Muslims are demanding no more pride events.
Wow. Shahram,
wait a second. What happened to working with the left?
Yeah. That's out the window because we have the upper house now at this point.
Exactly.
And I'd like you, and we're just a couple minutes before the break. And friends, if you want to start getting on board with our guest today, if you have a brief comment or a question, our number 800-733-9829, 800-733-9829. And Shahram, you talk about the Democrat socialists that are taking over. They've hijacked the Democratic Party at this point, and look at the candidates that are popping up all across this country. And one has to, is Michigan going to elect an Islamic to the U.S. Senate? We think of what's going on in Wisconsin right now, Francesca Hong, and her propelling, I think she's leading in the Democratic polls right now for the state of Wisconsin, and Colorado, and numerous other places across the country. The propulsion of the so-called Democratic socialist, and again, a warning on the red-green axis. But you take it away, Shahram. We got 2 minutes before the break.
Well, you're absolutely right. They have the passion, they have the hatred, and they have the ground game. Part of the reason they're taking over is they're taking over because they have the ground game. In these primaries, typically you see very low voter turnout, and they are very well mobilized and also funded from outside the nation and internally, and they're taking over. And you saw it in Colorado with Mirat Kilos, the 15-year incumbent, in New York City with the likes of Chevalier and others. And by the way, one of their litmus tests, you and I were talking about off air, one of their litmus tests for how they're going to go after Democrats is if those Democrats support Israel, then they will primary them. And that's what they're doing. They're getting rid of any Democrat that is pro-Israel in the Congress, Senate, state offices, and they're winning. Jim, they're winning. These are no longer fringe people. They're getting elected because of poor voter turnout, and that they're very well funded and mobilized. Yeah. And this is a very troubling, dark day for America because these are full-blown Marxist communists, and they're working with the Islamic movement. This is, unfortunately, that red-green axis.
And again, you pointed out low voter turnout. Shahram, Muslims are 90% plus in turning out for elections. The evangelical community is what, maybe half that?
Not even half that. Not even half that. Maybe a quarter of that. We've seen evangelical voter turnout has been abysmal. They will not vote for various reasons, including pastors telling people that they shouldn't vote, they shouldn't be, civically minded, and therefore, but yet they get their people out to vote. As I said, they got the ground game, they have the passion, they have the hatred of America, and they have the mobilization to do it and the funding to do it. And this is serious. This is a machine that is now systematically knocking off any, quote, moderate Democrat one by one. And it's very troubling.
And it is troubling. And by the way, folks, there's a whole lot of Soros money being poured into this election once again. We'll be back after 1 minute, and lines are packed here, so we'll be going to your phone calls as well. Friends, you're listening to Crosstalk on VCY America.
For the Worldview Report, I'm Brandon House. Our website's worldviewtube.com. President Trump is in Turkey today, giving great praise to Erdogan. He's also praised the leader of Syria, Jalani. Folks, I don't know about you, but I don't remember any president, certainly Republican president, that has given so much credibility to Islamic leaders. Do you know of even one Republican president that has ever done this? Praising the leader of Turkey who wants to take and conquer Jerusalem? And then we have Jalani, who had a multi-million-dollar bounty on him from America for being a jihadi. Of course, President Trump, I think, is going after the Abraham Accords. All of this, folks, is setting the stage. Do you realize that? For Bible prophecy to be fulfilled, for a leader to come along, I think, after Donald Trump to confirm a peace treaty. But then there's Israel wondering what's going to happen as we, America, gives Turkey F-35s. May God protect Israel.
You're listening to Crosstalk on VCY America. And friends, can I encourage you to be praying for President Trump? Yes, we pray for physical safety, of course, but be praying for that he would have godly advisors and people who know the truth on issues pertaining to Islam. Pray that circle would go out to the likes of people like Shahram Hadian, Usama Dakdak, and others who know in Islam inside and out. But pray that he'd have wisdom and discernment as he conducts these affairs, not only in the Middle East, but here in the United States as well. Be praying regarding this upcoming election. Some of you have primaries yet coming up in the weeks to come, and then the November 3rd election as well. This is going to be a crucial election for the United States. Our lines are packed, and we begin with Corbin in Lubbock, Texas. Corbin, you're on the air.
Hey, yeah, I just wanted to say that it's really ironic for Trump to be over there whenever everything that's going on. I mean, in Virginia specifically, I've been in Virginia for a few years now, and there are entire neighborhoods, and it's just all Islamic. And one specifically that I saw, it said "No women allowed" on the doorway.
Wow.
So don't we think that we're kind of going backwards?
Yeah, thank you for that. And he's calling from Texas as well. So we mentioned Virginia, Shahram, but Texas also. Are we going backwards in this?
For sure, we're going backwards. Where there is some awareness, the awareness is going in the right direction to some extent, but yet right now, in practicality, we are going backwards. Absolutely true. We are, as a society, we're actually worse off, and the more we import these individuals who are not assimilating, the more we're going to get that type of culture shock and segregation and application of Islamic law. When they say no women allowed, that's Sharia, folks. That's Islamic law in application for you.
We've got Dave in Phoenix, Arizona. You're on the air.
Yes, Jim and Sharon. I just was wondering how we even get these people into office, because they can't abide by the oath of office, which government officials are supposed to adhere to. Mm-hmm. They're enemies of the state.
Okay, and indeed, many have taken the oath on the Quran. But again, we point out, Dave, where's the evangelical turnout? Where's the turnout of the church in the polls? Again, just recently, the Muslim vote in one of the areas, 90% plus of Muslims are out there voting. And Shahram, what an indictment to those who have a love for the United States of America.
Absolutely. The apathy will lead to our downfall, our demise. We are being infiltrated from within. We have been for years, and part of the mechanism that they use is the voting machine. Obviously, there's fraud. We know that, but they just, again, that's why I said with the DSA and with the Islamic movement. So the green and the red, their voter turnout and their ground game and their passion is much, much higher than ours. And that's incredibly grieving when we're fighting for the very liberties and freedom of our nation. And to the caller's point, that's the trend. This is where it's going, because we are not recognizing the threat. We don't understand it, and we're apathetic to it. And it's unbelievably frustrating.
We've got a caller from the state of Maine. This is Nafro. Go ahead, you're on the air.
Hello. Yeah, thank you. My name is Naro Hamad. I'm originally from Moorhead, Minnesota.
Okay.
Originally from Middle East. Anyway, I 100% agree with Shahram says about Islam. I knew about that religion very well, and I have studied it, and because but I believe that there is still way more than we afraid. We should be really concerned about that religion here within United States of America.
Yeah.
It's never going to be coexist or work together because there is nothing called religion, as Trump says. And they are really, really dangerous people when they do have power. So there is no mercy.
Wow.
The only thing they knew is beheading or child molestation and then all this kind of stuff. And whatever I say, I have proof as, I can prove it to anybody in this world that they are really danger.
Thank you.
They are not going to be, I hope, and I wish that, they are not going to have any power. It's really unfortunate what I seen, what I hear, what I seen, especially from New York and then some other states, even Minnesota. It's shame.
Yeah. Thank you, Naro. Thank you for your comment there. Shahram, one who speaks from experience.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it sounds like the caller, has lived out what I lived out, what I saw in Iran, my birth country, and what we've been trying to warn people here in the United States. It is a shame. It is grieving. It is shocking that we've given up this power to them. By the way, back to the last caller, they take false oaths. That's one of the things as part of Islam. They can lie.
Yeah.
So whether they're first of all, we don't even require them to put their hands on a Bible anymore. We don't require them to swear an oath to the Constitution because they're putting an oath on the Quran.
Yep.
And so how do we get to that point? How do we get to the point where they can take an oath on a book that directly calls for the downfall of any Western society that doesn't live by Islamic law?
Let me squeeze in Mark
from suicide.
Mark in Tucson, Arizona. You're on the air.
Yeah, my comment is it seems to me Trump is doing unto Netanyahu what Iran has been doing to Trump. What course of action do you think Netanyahu will take at this time? Because
tell you what, I'm going to have an answer to that question because we're down to 30 seconds. Your response, Shahram.
Bottom line, Israel needs to prepare to go alone. I've said this for many years. Israel's finally talking about that they're recognizing that it's time to become independent of the United States as far as their military, as far as their weaponry, and as far as their decision-making. I think Israel has every right sovereignly to defend themselves, especially against Iran, and the majority of the Iranian people support Israel taking out this regime. That's the bottom line. But the caller is absolutely right. I'm sickened by J.D. Vance and the president and how they've turned on Israel and they're berating Israel. That is shameful.
We're going to have to leave it there today. Thank you, Mark, for the call, and to others. We're sorry to those yet on hold. Shahram Hadian, our guest, his website, Till Ministry, that stands for Truth and Love, tillministry.com. Shahram, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate it, as always.
And friends, reach out to his website, tillministry.com. Thanks for joining us on Crosstalk.
You've been listening to Crosstalk via satellite and the internet from VCY America. Views expressed may or may not be those of this station. For a CD of today's program, send a donation of $6 or more to VCY Tape Ministry, 3434 West Kilbourne Avenue, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, 53208. Or download by RSS or podcast from crosstalkamerica.com. And join us again for Crosstalk.